Hello, this is my second Intro to Aerospace historical video on Bessie Coleman. So, Elizabeth Coleman was her full name, and she was born in Atlanta in 1892. And she had 12 siblings, and she helped her mother out by helping her pick cotton and wash laundry. She enrolled at Langston University at 18 years old after saving up enough money, but she couldn't pay for it, so she only went for a semester and then dropped out. At 23, she lived with her brothers in Chicago, and they returned from World War One, and a bunch of people had stories about the war and what they saw. And one of her brothers, named John, explained how in France women were allowed to fly, and he made fun of her because she didn't have that privilege. She was a woman in America, and because she was black. So she actually took this not negatively. She took this as inspiration to basically prove him wrong and become a pilot. So she started taking French lessons to be able to apply for a French school to move to Europe, and which really goes to show her commitment and her determination because she had to learn basically the basics of a whole new language just so she could try and not even guaranteed a spot to become a pilot. So that's really cool. After applying, she was finally accepted in 1920 to Caldron Brothers School of Aviation in Le Courtois, France. Yeah, she earned her pilot's license from basically the French version of the International Aeronautics Federation in 1921, and she always dreamed about owning a plane and starting her own flight school. Eventually, she never did end up starting this flight school, but she did get a plane and later on, but I'll talk about that later. She was invited to give speeches and basically talk to new pilots, talk to aspiring, new students, people wanting to get into aviation. But every place that had, discriminatory events or, seating or listening spaces, she refused to show up to give a show there. She started getting nicknames for her accomplishments. She would do like loop-de-loops and like figure eights and just tricks in the plane. And people started calling her Queen Bess and Brave Bessie. And she started making a name for herself, which is pretty cool. Um, there was this one situation. She refused to even participate in an air show in Texas because they had completely different entrance gates for white people and black people. And basically she stood her ground until they had to adjust for just for her. And they combined the two gates just, so everyone could go into the same one, which, she had a lot of power just because she was so famous, and she used that in a very good way. Um, in 1923, she crashed, and she didn't die from this crash. She did survive, but she broke bones, and it was a pretty bad recovery. It took about 2 years, but she was very determined through all of it. There's a quote. She said, "Tell them that as soon as I can walk, I'm going to fly." And that was really cool, just because her whole life she was into it. As soon as she heard about flying, like, there was a possibility she'd always wanted to, and she wouldn't let crashing and breaking bones get in the way of her dream. Um, she was flying a test flight for one of her shows just to spot places to land, to parachute jump from the plane. And there was a wrench. There was a loose wrench in the engine, and it messed it up. The plane ended up spinning, and she was flung from the cockpit and died. The man that she was flying with, the mechanic, also died and crashed in the plane. So he was seated, he was strapped in the seatbelt, and she wasn't because she was too short to look over the edge. But her legacy, of course, lasted a very long time. She was known by many, influential um, activists, many African American, leaders that saw her accomplishments as, obviously progress in the whole movement. And she was remembered by people as far forward even as 1992 when Mae Jemison went to space. And she actually had a picture of Bessie Coleman with her in the cockpit, launching up into space. And she said that she always wanted to be close to her, close, like right next to her when she went to space. But she said in a way she was with that picture next to her. So I think that's really cool, just the impact that she had, not only just being the first African American woman being a pilot, but that she used the power that she had from being that to just influence new students, aspiring, pilots, especially people who were discriminated against and faced challenges when they wanted to fly. And I just think overall her whole story is really cool. And as unfortunately, along with many aviators back in the day, she did end up, not surviving her experiences flying. But her story was very cool and inspirational for everyone. And yeah, there's my video. Here are my references. Here is her picture and her membership with the school in France that she got her license from, and I think that's a kind of a cool picture. But yeah, there it is.